Let's talk now. I'm gonna go cold and then hey guys, sorry for the technical difficulty. We're just getting started. Welcome to Mentorship Moments, each one teach one. All right. Hey, what happens when your athletic dreams of becoming a professional athlete come crumbling down? What happens when all hope is gone and you have nowhere to go? Where do you turn to? Drugs, women, mediocre ways of making ends meet? You know, the usual stereotype. Well, not our guest today. Man, this brother not only had a plan A, but he had a plan A too, and we will talk about that later. Tonight, we are focusing on strengthening our minds beyond our talents, amongst other things. Are you ready to talk? Let's talk.
Sometimes you just gotta make it happen. Gonna make it happen. Gonna make it happen. Just make it happen. Just make it happen. Just make it happen.
All right. Well, welcome to another episode of Mentorship Moments, each one teach one. Before we begin, I just want to give my usual shouts outs to my people that are having birthdays. Shout out to our Urban Show, been a great mentor in my life. Happy birthday to you, incredible person. All right, so here goes, guys. My guest today, man, unbelievable, man. I can't wait to talk to how I met this brother. Okay, Richard Yeargin, my guest today, the philanthropist. Overcame a difficult upbringing to become a star, a student athlete on the Clemson football team. When his NFL dream was destroyed in a car accident that would have left most people paralyzed, Richard's strong work ethic pushed him to keep going. After doctors told him he would never play again, Richard never gave up. He returned to football 2 years later at Boston College and won the Brian Piccolo Award for the most courageous player in the ACC. Richard, a two-time master's degree recipient. This is important, guys. Now hopes to help kids in need achieve success through the RYIII Foundation. That's what we're going to talk about today, man. This young brother is doing big things. Hey, I wanted you to check out this segment from ESPN. It's a small segment. I want you guys to check it out. I will give you the site and reference to check out on YouTube. You can subscribe to that too. Guys, make sure you click subscribe on the YouTube channel so we can grow this thing. Mentorship Moments, each one teach one. Check this video out, guys. Check it out.
Clemson junior Richard Yeargin stood poised to become one of the Tigers' next great pass rushers.
I anticipated having a huge breakout year going into the 2017 season. You know, I had the ability and was fully capable to perform at a high level.
But Yeargin's path changed one night in June.
Get on the highway, it's raining pretty badly. You know, I was trying to be cautious as can be, driving. And as I'm merging, my car then kind of hydroplaned and then flipped over.
The whole hood's crashed in, the whole windshield smashed. It looked like the car did a complete front flip on top of his head.
He was like, Mom, he said, Richard's been in a real bad accident. And they said, it doesn't look good, look like he's broken his neck.
Yeargin suffered a concussion and broke
Guys, you go on ESPN. We will totally give you the reference for that. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today, and again, this is on my YouTube channel, Cleon Joseph. Make sure you subscribe and share, guys. Join in the fun. My guest today is none other than the philanthropist, the author of the Richard Yeargin Foundation, the superstar, now business mogul, Mr. Richard Yeargin. Hey, what's up, my man? How you doing?
Doing good, how are you?
Man, it's so great to see it. And I love the fact that we're all at home, like quarantining and stuff, man. My man, Richard, normally he's in a suit and tie, but he's chilling in his t-shirt and cool glasses, ready to let our people have it. Man, how you been, man? Look at you. He's got the shirt. I love it, man. Man, how it's been, I want to talk about how we met, because it's important that when you when you network with greatness, it's important that we build each other no matter what coast. Now he's on the east southern border of the country in Florida, and I'm here in Los Angeles. And let's talk about how we met real quick, man. So we were both invited to be on panelists at the Black Business Expo a few months back. And we were all invited as a guest on the panel with some legends, legendary football great Robert Grant, Reginald Grant, I believe Pastor Jamal Bryant, amongst others. And it was supposed to be a talk about youth and football, but you can remind me, it turned into something more special. We started talking about how to cultivate strength and power, not just sport power, but financial power with our youth in our community. So you remember that conversation, sir?
It was a powerful moment because when you are dealing with such a critical time in sports, it's good to see the unity amongst what you're doing in terms of educating youth and empowering them through, pursuing their passions, whether that be, going on to college and multiple things that they're aspiring to do, post that. And then you second that with what my initiatives are centered around education and pushing the driving force behind what keeps a lot of our young men, especially our color, held back. And you combine those two entities together and, just kind of follow through with what we said we were going to do, which was be in this moment. I think it's very special and empowering.
I like what you said about follow through, because it took a couple of months for me. Like when I met you, I said, I've got to get you on my show. We have got to connect in some way. And then when I tell you, brother, and you guys listen, hey, young people, honor your word. I literally lost your information, and I could not find it. But thank God we had a friend in common. I was able to get that number, and I called you and I said, look, I'm doing something right now, but I haven't forgot you. We're going to tell the world about what you're doing. I want to talk about, before we get into your foundation, let's build this up. Let's talk about you. Let's go ahead and talk about your upbringing. Talk about where you're born, what you're all about. What was life? It sounds like things were pretty rough, when we talked with you coming up. Tell our audience what that was like.
Well, I mean, for starters, growing up in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, especially, back in those times, the early 2000s, rap had a huge influence on the culture, especially here. And a lot of times, it was very hard to not entertain what you were hearing and also ignore what you were seeing. And so within the neighborhoods, you would have kind of division amongst those who were, involved and those who weren't involved. And so a lot of those who got involved was because you were out running the streets. And those who weren't involved, it was because you were kept in the house. And so for me, my grandmother, we lived over in a rough area in Dillard Park, homes where, there was a lot of drugs, violence, gang banging, all that kind of stuff. And she would never let me go outside or even leave the porch because a lot of times you don't make it back because of shootings and random things going on. And so I didn't understand it at the time, but when my grandmother died, around the time that I was in third grade, it was about maybe 8 years old or so, it really, really damaged me because the one person that protected me and kind of kept me sheltered away from, what my surroundings were was no longer there. And so I started making some poor decisions and some poor choices and, the group of friends and things that I would get into. And ultimately, I'm glad that it didn't hinder me moving forward in my life because the opportunity for me to go to private school and cross the other side of the tracks was what really made me a standout student athlete. And to be honest with you, it's sad because our school system here is kind of divided. And so
when you say divided, are you talking about racially?
All of that, socioeconomics, race. I mean, you have different neighborhoods and different schools that kind of cater towards one specific race and ethnicity. And so if you kind of, don't have the means or, the right zoning because they kind of zone it, based upon this, that. And so you don't have opportunities to sort of branch out unless, you're academically inclined enough. And which in our case, most of us, we aren't. And so we're kind of stuck in our neighborhood. And sometimes, that's not a good thing because you kind of grow up in the same mindset, being around the same people and never really getting a chance to meet new people. It kind of stunts your growth.
Well,
And,
you know what's funny?
that's
Your story relates to so many young men and women out there in the community. Like I lived a sheltered life too. My parents kept me away from stuff just like you. I mean, it goes on like globally, especially in the United States. And yes, there is a difference when it comes to race. I want to ask you, so what was it that kept you focused? And I mean, in or out of trouble, we've all been through it. What saved you? What saved you?
I would say my faith. For me, I knew early on that it was going to be important for me to identify with who I serve and what I believe in through my, upbringing. And so I simply, made a pact with myself that as long as what I'm doing reflects my belief system, then I'm okay with life. But where it kind of gets tricky is when you start to compromise your character and then, ultimately your integrity, and now your belief system's in jeopardy. So that kind of kept me in line for when I stepped out of line, how to realign myself and, just remember the things that ultimately my grandmother left with me. And that's prayer and a whole lot of repenting and, just basically not being the kind of person that has no conscience. Like having a moral conscience definitely saves a lot of people, and it definitely saved me.
So how important was athletics? Because there's always something. There's always a gift. And it sounds to me your gift was football, athletics. How did that carry into your focus? Your story relates to so many young people. And we're going to show how do we turn this around. Go ahead.
So for me, I know athletics is kind of the only thing that people identify with when you kind of come from my background, but I always knew that I was like so ahead of my time as far as my thinking. And I knew that my writing skills and my reading skills were out of out of this world. And so for me, you know, football was my navigation tool, but what really made me stand out and what really is kind of my bread and butter is, just my ability to communicate and, read and write. And that was something that a lot of people didn't know about me because I kind of kept it private and kept it to myself. But as I branched out and got in different environments, like I mentioned, in private school, it definitely helped me shape that better.
So my question to you is, what is it about us? And I'm glad you're my guest because I could do a whole show on myself that keeps us from getting it out there and shining. You said you kept it to yourself. Why did you keep all those gifts to yourself?
I mean, growing up, it wasn't really cool to be intellectual. People didn't have conversations with you that challenged you to think outside of the box. Everything was very basic. And so a lot of times the thoughts that were in my head, I just never said. I kind of just stayed to myself because my surroundings weren't ready for what I had to say and, how I was willing to present myself. So I kind of, just played the reserve role until I got into environments that were more conducive towards me kind of being able to finally let the thoughts that roamed through my mind for so long just kind of be free.
Wow. Wow. And it's funny. I went through that too, being the smart guy. My nickname in junior high and high school was Gumby. And the only reason why they called my brother Gumby 2, and he was the rapper guy, was because I was Gumby 1. And I couldn't help it. I spoke proper. I held stuff inside me, but I suppressed it a lot because I wanted to kind of relate, and I knew I had this gift. And it sounds like you're walking through that same path in your gift. So now you're in high school and you're playing. When did you know you were just good? You were just the stuff. Was it high school? When was a thing where it's like, bam, this is it right here. Football is it.
Actually, I knew when I was a kid. I had a different mentality and a different work ethic than most. But where it all started to come together for me was my 10th grade year. It's kind of when I had a very large growth spurt, and I just kind of started to regain all the confidence that, when you transition from youth sports to high school, people don't understand it's a huge transition. And so ninth grade was a bit of an adjustment, and I knew some things that I had to work on and get better at, and I did that. And like I said, my sophomore spring is when I kind of knew, like, yeah, it's time to turn the light switch on and shine. So I
Okay.
just kind of knew.
So you let that light shine. So let's fast forward a little bit into college because I really wanted to get into what makes you so special. We talked about at the Black Business Expo Plan A and Plan A2. You were a star player at Clemson. Tell us about that ride.
I mean, it's always a joyous occasion when you are who you say you are, and who others know you as. But one thing that I must say, that ride comes with a lot of soul searching, and you have to make sure that everything that you do reflects who you want to be. And I think sometimes in college it gets kind of hard to block out the noise because you're playing up under the bright lights and you have all these temptations and distractions. And I think one thing that people don't understand is the social pressure, and just kind of some of the things that you go through, trying to develop into what everybody's been hoping you would develop into, which is a premier player that's destined for the NFL. It's just such a grind. And, along that way, you don't really understand how significant it is to appreciate every moment. But, when it's taken from you, you definitely look back and you say, man, like all of that I went through was worth it. And it's just great, especially when you're on a winning team.
Well, let's talk about some of the awards at Clemson the high honors. Let's talk about some of that.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, at Clemson, winning my first national championship in 2016 was definitely something that was a vision of my 2014 class. When we came in, we said we want to win one, two, three if we can.
Wow.
Um, and it was done because we all came together and we were attacking one common goal, and that was to, dominate and week by week get to our ultimate goal of winning the national championship, and we did that twice. And so in 2018, when I made the transition off the field towards more so student coaching and graduate assistant to finish up after my accident in 2017, it was great because I got to see guys that I came in with, developed with, and ultimately went to war with at one point in time, get what they truly deserve,
Wow.
which was a shot at the NFL. And for me, I just knew that during my time, enjoying those different moments, that it would one day be something to reflect back on. And I'm glad that you asked me that question.
Well, I want to go back and talk about that. So you're at the prime of your career, man. Two
Right?
championships, and here's what I like about you, brother. I've never heard you say once "I" or "me" about your team. You're still talking about "we" as it was a collective. I love that. I love that, and I love where it's grown to. Okay, so everything's going fine, and then, bam, man! It wasn't even an injury on the field. Talk about the accident. What was that like for you? Having all these gifts and just walk us through that, because I want to talk about the comeback.
Well, it was definitely a challenge, right? When you kind of in those, I don't know what's going to happen next. Where am I going to go from here? Kind of moments, you know, it just kind of really defeats you at first. But for me, I will honestly say, when I knew that I made it out of that car accident alive, all I could think about was just football
Wow.
and want to go out there and play. I believe when I woke up out of my coma, however you want to put it, it dawned on me that, like, okay, I'm in pain, but like, how bad is it? And can I get back out there soon? like that mindset of just like nothing can stop me just turned on. It wasn't like, oh man, I'm finna lay here and feel bad for myself, because at the end of the day, as long as I have breath in my body and I was able to continue to do what it is that I knew I was destined to do on this earth, I was going to try to do it. But it was very hard when I realized the severity of the injury and how my life was really at jeopardy. And, you just start to kind of ask yourself, like, man, okay, well, now that I know I'll be out for at least a year, like, what do I do with this time? How do I grow? And a lot of days it was hard for me to get out of bed. It was hard for me to look at myself in the mirror because I didn't see the guy that I once knew. Meaning, I knew that I had gone through something and I had to address it so that I could start to deal with it and stop trying to suppress it by trying to move on and, have this strong, resilient mindset that nothing ever hurts me. As a football player, that's what you're taught. You get up and you keep fighting. But I
Richard, we hear so many stories about athletes going the other way when it comes to injury, or whether on the field or off, where they turn to vices such as like drugs or whatever their vices were, or they're looking for that popularity. You, and I want everybody to hear this, had this inner voice that said not to give up. He in his head, he was still a champion, that seemed to be like the driving force because you came back, but the comeback was a little different than what we all thought it would be. What was the comeback like, being football being your driving force?
I think for me, I just never really believed in fully letting go of the want to play. But I came to a realization that if I had the opportunity to play again, I wouldn't put too much pressure on myself to try and do more than I'm able to do, because clearly, things had changed because of the injury. And so I kept asking myself, what would it be like to go out there and go head on head collision with somebody and, wonder if you're going to be okay. So a lot of times I kind of second guess myself, to be honest with you, at first, like, can I really do this again? Is it possible? And then, as I began to go through the rehab process physically and mentally, I began to regain that confidence slowly but surely. And when I got the green light news that, I'll be able to play again, I immediately submitted my name into the transfer portal because I had been out for 2 years from Clemson. And I figured, it was time to kind of blaze a new trail. And so Boston College, answered the call, and they took me in, and it was a wonderful experience as I began that journey to rejoining a brotherhood and, putting myself in position to be able to not only play football again, but receive yet, like you said, another degree and kind of open myself up to, new opportunities as far as networking and things of that nature.
I think I'm going to focus on that too, because that is just as important. While going through this, being at Clemson, and while back at Boston, you managed to get your degree. Can you tell me and just share with our public, the youth that could be or would be watching in the future as this thing grows and grows and grows, which one has the higher level of importance in your mind? Because you're credible. You've got the masters and you've got the championships and you've lived it and you're successful. Which one is more important when you look back over your life at this moment?
That's a good question. I mean, honestly, it's a no-brainer. For me, I'm always going to tell anybody that the more education you receive, the better. And I say that because the national championship rings, they have their time where they, flex a little bit of power. But the reality is, once your playing days are over and you're transitioning into what's considered to be the real world, it's all about credibility, like you mentioned. And credibility comes from being, someone who's respected as an academic first and then a student athlete. So I would honestly have to say that the degrees trump the rings.
Well, I'd like to give all my guests, especially my credible guests, a chance to give a shout out to their mentors. Let's talk about some of your mentors and that helped you get through to this point.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just so many, but during my time in college, I received mentorship from the former president of Racetrack, now current CEO at Higher Dynamics, who's actually been instrumental in telling me like you can shoot the 3-point shot in life. You don't have to settle for, essentially just being another guy that just kind of moves on with life and goes into the world and just kind of exists.
Mm.
He was you can go pilot and do your own thing, and started bringing all these big ideas to me. And a professor and good friend of mine's, John Christensen, was definitely a driving force for me with just kind of educating me on how my ability to communicate with people and my emotional intelligence is out of this world. And to me, those are the two driving factors as far as mentorship that really help shape, mold, and develop me, into the professional that I am today.
As the professional that you are today, can you put a stamp on how important it is for you receiving mentorship, and how important it is that we in our generation constantly reach back and mentor others? And because we're about to segue into what you're doing. Give us a little synopsis on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about building bridges, right? And not burning them. So a lot of times, we think that once we cross the bridge, we've crossed the bridge, but you always have to bring somebody with you because somebody brought you across the bridge. So the reality is, it's all about building a lineage. You should always consider mentoring someone at least a step or two steps below you in age and generation difference, and then receiving mentorship from someone a step or two ahead of you is always good. And then putting all of you together helps cultivate different thoughts, and just allows you to think outside of the box because you have so many generations being connected together through one driving force, which is mentorship.
Yeah, listen, if you guys want to call in, you can call in at 323-815-4204. 323-815-4204. If you're a young person and you're listening, if you're an older person just trying to see how to reach, you see, I tricked you guys. That's what Mentorship Moments is about. It's about figuring out ways through these people's greatnesses, how to reach back and fix our village. This is a total wellness show. Okay, so speaking of a mentorship, speaking of your philanthropy, let's talk about your 2 degrees, and then let's get into the program that you've established. What did you get your degrees in? I mean, you have a double master's, correct?
So I'm finishing one master's, to be completely honest with you, at BC. I haven't finished it exactly yet, but I'm on my way to finishing it. It's in master's in healthcare administration, and my master's in science is in athletic development, organizational leadership from Clemson, and my undergrad was business and communications.
Man, that is impressive. I mean, literally, there's no excuse, and an injury. Man, you, my man, are amazing, and you're giving back. So let's talk about that giving back. Let's talk about your vision, man. Let's talk about your baby. Let's talk about the RYIII Foundation, man. When did that come about? Because I see you popping a t-shirt, right? Let's talk about that, because this is huge. I want to dive into this so much because people need to understand the work it takes. Let's talk about your foundation.
Yeah, I mean, it's something, and for me, it's what I've always envisioned myself being involved with is charity. I mean, the community needs support, and the only way to receive support is for someone to be a pioneer and go out and lead an initiative that is very much so in dire need of attention. For me, I knew growing up the divide was real, within the school system. And just because of socioeconomic statuses, you have access to better resources than others based upon, where you live or where you go to school. And I feel like that's just so, just really pathetic that, we're in the technology age, and there's such a huge divide, and it's created such a huge outbreak and loss of student contact ever since we've faced COVID And it's become more and more prevalent that if you aren't accessible to internet, Wi-Fi, technology, then you're getting behind day by day, and it's unfortunate for a lot of our youth who are in the midst of this transition, and have to basically disconnect themselves from school because they don't have the resources, or they're in these situations where learning from home isn't conducive towards their future because they're in some tough circumstances. So I feel like my foundation is set out to address, those important issues, because there has to be some sort of justice served to
Wow.
be able to, replenish what we've been deprived of for so long.
I love the way we use justice, because that can be used in so many social environments, not just the current, but man, we culturally have been like the less than for years, and freedom didn't change that, and opportunity didn't change. And I like mission statements, so I want to read your mission statement. I love going on people's sites and reading it. And you guys make sure you get on to go to the site and check this brother out. The mission statement, the Richard Yeargin Foundation. The RYIII Foundation is a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing opportunity to students in need, breaking down the digital divide as technology is integrated more and more into education. Those without it are left behind. According to Pew Research Center, 25% of teens whose household income is less than $30,000 do not have a computer at home. The RY3 Foundation seeks to combat this inequity by partnering with local organizations to distribute computers and Wi-Fi mobile hotspots to students in need. This gives them the opportunity to keep up with their classmates, providing a more equitable future for all. Now, listen, Richard, I can tell you, my wife's a school teacher, and here in Los Angeles, in California, she's telling me, and it pains her how many kids don't have access to laptops. Now that we're in quarantine, it's the perfect time to bring this up, because school is still in session, and there are kids, I can say it, maybe she can't, that kids that all they have to do is check in and disappear, and they get a passing grade with no resources, which is just as bad as failing them anyway. So can we talk about some of your successes down in Florida and how that worked? And I definitely want to talk about some of the people you're attached to.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, to me, like I said, one of those things where we take a look at ourselves and we ask, what can we do to, empower everyone? And this is a human right. We're not talking about, something political, but it seems as though education has been compromised by politics for so long, and now it's on full display. And what are we going to do about it? So for me, I don't focus on the problem or the challenge very much. I try to be very problem solver like, solution oriented, and just kind of driven off of the fact that I understand the breakdown and the divide very much so, because I'm a living testimony of it and overcoming all of the challenges that it presented. So for me, it's just about utilizing my voice and utilizing my story to empower and, give back to other people.
Man, well, listen, you've inspired this old man. I mean, I mean, man, I'm inspired. I got to go get my double master's, man. Let's talk about some of the people that are attached to your organization, because this ties into your education, your will, your drive, your team concept. I mean, you're talking about working with people like T-Mobile, Adobe, GE, Higher Dynamics, Cisco. What was that like when all of these people say, hey, you know what, Richard, we want to be down with this program to help our youth? What is that like?
I mean, it's definitely monumental, because for me, it's not about, what I have access to. It's about what I can give others access to. And, I focus less on the names and I focus more on the heart of the giver. And the people that I associate myself with, they don't look at it and say, oh, well, this is giving back to the needy. It's more or less, for me, some opportunities to bridge those gaps again, through mentorship and, really just providing more resources than just funds. And so, to be able to connect a young person with someone who's already established and, with a company that's reputable and, can provide them some good knowledge and mentorship. That's kind of what I'm most excited about is, trying to show our youth something different.
Well, let me ask you this from an entrepreneur perspective, because there are so many people that I know in our community that I've talked to recently that are successful, but they want to start their similar organizations to help, whether it be domestic violence, and they don't know how to start. So, what was it like you putting your organizational plan together to walk up to these people and say, "Hey, I've got this thing"? Did they come to you? Did you put in the work? Did it just drop out of the sky? What is the reality of how you got started? We need to understand this. Nobody's asking these questions.
Well, you don't start anything without a plan, and so for me, I kind of knew that over the course of time, it was imperative for me to develop relationships because you never know where they can take you. And so within these organizations, I just kind of planted seeds and build rapport with a lot of higher up people that have some significant power. And I just knew that one day, it would come a time where I would try to put together a movement that's very strong and I would need some strong backing. So, it's always about aligning yourself with opportunities and knowing that everything comes together in divine timing. So it was really just strategizing a lot beforehand and understanding how to leverage certain networks and certain relationships because without those driving forces, it's kind of hard to develop a solid game plan for the long haul.
You said two things that I need everybody to hear: our young people and our people who are young at heart, or young people who are still dreaming. You said plant seeds and build rapport. Sounds to me like this takes a little bit of work, doesn't it?
It does. It does, and it's not really work if you're genuine about it.
Right.
So a lot of times we're not intentional about the things that we're doing until it's too late and we realize, oh, I should have done this or I should have done that. But I knew that, with everything that I was being exposed to, it will one day reveal itself if I just continue to be who I am, meet people, exchange information, and just kind of, you know, be a stand up guy. And it wasn't really hard for me because it was just a matter of picking up the phone and just having conversations. It wasn't like I had to, you know, start over from scratch because I didn't know, so it was just more or less easy thing for me is I'd already built rapport with these individuals.
Where does confidence play in? Because I know so many people that are scratching that ceiling, but it is their own fear that's limiting them. Where did you lose that? I know we talked about your football career, but trust me, it's really tough pitching to someone. What was pitching like for you when you were pitching for your foundation?
Simply, I just use myself as an example, and it wasn't hard because the angle that I was coming from was more or less like I'm not here to try and convince somebody of anything. I'm just here to let you know and kind of put it out there. And if you're interested, let me know. So for me, I don't really position myself as being someone that kind of comes off as, I'm forceful or, trying to oversell somebody on anything. I am who I am. You see me. I just want more people to, understand my message and get behind my cause. So, that's kind of how I attack things.
Now, let's be real. I mean, and I know you have been real, but man, wasn't it nice, like say the first major sponsor to come through? How did that feel for you?
Uh, it felt really good, and I say that because a lot of times, you kind of get in that space where it's like, wow, I'm actually doing something. I'm making a change. I'm building towards a better future. And that's what gets you going. That's what gets you excited is that someone is going to be impacted by this gift, or someone is going to be able to connect the dots with one of these givers. Just that kind of mindset of like where it could go from here. It's only It's only up.
Richard,
So
I'm desperately trying to get you to say it's all about you. It's you who did it. It's you who own this. I'm trying to get you to I want you to go Trump on us a little bit. It's you, right?
well,
No, ooh, did I say that? I'm sorry. No, man, I really appreciate. I'm still dying. I'm waiting for the eye, man. It's not in you. I felt that the day I met you. Is it because of the team structure you worked on?
listen, I tell you this. It's never been about me. It's always been about who I serve. And so again, I go back to my original point. When you turn the light on, it's about what shines down on you and what people see within. So, I'm just doing the work and just staying to myself about, my faith. But now it's time for me to let it out and just let people know, like, it's got to let that light on you shine brighter sometimes. But then what trumps that is the light that shines within you. So it's about more so me expressing to people that, no matter how much you accomplish in life, what did you do for other people and how did you serve is what you'll be measured by, once your dash is up in life.
I I've been trying to get back up, and I've been getting back up for people to constantly spread that message that number one, it isn't about us, and then when you're doing something for others, the payback is like it's better than money. Can you relate to that?
It is. It's about self fulfillment. And for me, nothing's more fulfilling than knowing that someone else is impacted by how you made them feel. It's not about how much money you have. It's not about, the fancy cars you drive or, any of that. It's about how did you make a person feel at the red light when they asked you, hey, can you loan me $1? Or, hey, I'm going through a tough time right now. Can you pick up the phone and say something that inspires me? That's kind of the way I pay myself is through my own human interest, which is investing in others and, ultimately sharing my gifts so that, it's clear who I am and what I'm about.
Wow. I talk about quiet things coming back to you in quiet conversations, and let's see if I can get feedback on that from you. When I think of quiet conversations, I think of walking in your light and things just start happening for you just because you care. Do you have those experiences now that you're in your nonprofit organization?
Yeah, I'll say share, impact, and inspire are three words that I live by. And, it did me great joy to know that in the midst of everything that I'm going through, I'm able to be there for, young men and women that want to go to college and, young men and women that are faced with significant childhood traumas and, falling victim to the juvenile system and working with memorial healthcare systems, as a mental health counselor in the community
My
has
God,
definitely
you're amazing. Tell me,
paid.
can you
Yeah.
go ahead? Can you tell me now? I want you to talk to the one kid that was just like you. You're in the pack. You're seeing everything around you. You've got this vision, and you're afraid to let it out. You've lived it already. I want you to reach back and talk because there's a kid right now that when they get a hold of this, they're gonna say the light bulb's gonna go off. Can you talk to that kid right? What would you say to that kid right now?
I would say to that kid, don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Meaning, a lot of people may not like you. A lot of people may not support you. But if you can love yourself enough, people know where you stand and don't straddle the fence or straddle the line with that, it'll do you so much good to know that you had the courage not to fit in, but to stand out in the front. Because a lot of times growing up, it's so easy to fall victim to, social pressures and things that typically hold you back from becoming who you're destined to be. And I just say, start young. Don't waste a day. You have 365 days in this new year, and you don't have to be who you were 5 minutes ago. You can make a decision to change, and if people don't like it, they weren't your friend from the beginning. And You just have the right decisions for you.
Well, I want you guys to go to ESPN College Football on YouTube, subscribe, and then just check out Richard Yeargin's story. It's very inspiring. But also, I'm so glad I brought you on the show because I told you like that when we were on the Black Business Expo talking on that panel discussion that I want to do a format across the United States where we can get a bunch of kids on Zoom and we can have success segments. You know, there's only going to be so many people that I can reach with my style as to who I am. But you, brother, can reach those at another level. And I've got a couple more in mind. And I would love for you to be on this success format with me, you know, and I'm asking, you know, is that a possibility?
When can we start?
That's all, brother. That's all I want to know, guys. That's the surprise for 2021, guys. I put stuff out there and hey, it worked. I want to do for our youth and for our people that are still dreaming. It doesn't matter how old you are, a success panel discussion. And you know, and again, it's not about the money, guys. It's really about giving back. That's what he's been doing. That's what I've been doing. And I never get down about that. I don't care how broke I am at the time, whatever. As long as kids are smiling or somebody lost 20 pounds because, that's a good feeling. So get ready for that. And I'll be making announcements of that. So I got my second panelist right here, segment 2. Maybe I'll call this segment started from the bottom. Now we're here, man. Brother, you've been absolutely amazing. Let's put your website out there now, how they can contact you and donate. I don't care that he's in Florida. There are human beings that we are connecting with in the communities far beyond ours. It's working out there for him. How do they donate? How do they get on? Plug it out, sir.
RichardYeargin.com, RichardYeargin.com, and it'll link you right to the foundation's website, RYIII Roman numeral 3 Foundation.org.
Okay, awesome, man. I'm so glad that you came on the show, brother.
Yes,
I
sir.
can't wait. I've said it. I've put it in the air, and now America knows it. Man, I can't wait to start this foundation with it. This success panel. We're gonna help so many people the right way. No excuses, man. You had no excuse. I had no excuse. The 2 other brothers that I'm trying to get on also had no excuse. There's no excuse for us not to reach back. And you, believe it or not, I may look young, but I'm a little older. I'm that older generation. You're in that zone where you can reach back, and hopefully I can get a younger brother or sister that's doing some big things. We said it. It's on. Hey, Richard, I want to thank you so much. Please go to his website and donate. He is literally doing it. And 2 masters, guys. What more do you want, guys? Man, thank you so much for being on the show, Richard.
Thank you for having me. Good night.
Good night. All right, brother. Good night, man. Get some sleep. Happy New Year. All right, guys, we have another surprise, a little bit of a surprise. I have a team called the Fitness Syndicate, and this is where I had been doing my giving. And I have a little 5-minute teaser trailer that I want you guys to look at. And then just go on right here on my YouTube page, click subscribe and share, and check out my pilot episode, Battle of the Bulls Los Angeles. It's a verte as to how we got a bunch of community members to lose weight to get healthy for the right reasons. Take a look at the trailer. We're about to play it right now. 2021, right? We're going to start off real big. Go into the channel, man, watch the episode, share, man, give a brother some feedback, really think this is something I want to bring back too. I'm looking forward to it. If the poetess is ready, let's go on and play this trailer.
You don't have to be a fighter to feel like one. This is Battle of the Bulge LA. Real life, real weight loss, real results. Let's train.
Diner ready to bring the hood? Are you ready to bring the hood to him?
Man, you already know.
Hey, K, are you ready to show them that team love? Are you ready to take them to the Congos? Are you ready, my brother? Dawn Strozier, the fitness queen. Are you ready to reign supreme on my peeps back there? Mr. Fit Dreams, are you ready to show them that raw food lifestyle? Because you know some of them be eating that fried chicken. You're going to show them how to use that water, right? Are you ready to give them the hop 1, hop 2 one more time, boss lady? All right, that's what I'm talking about. The ladies love John the Cobra Crosby talking about your hands, bro, because you got some fast hands. Are you ready to put it down on some clowns today?
Oh, yeah.
Good. Kelvin, my brother, we about to say some lies, bro. Are you ready to put him through the ringer, sir?
Got it.
Ready to give him that track and field, sir?
Got it.
My evil twin sister. CJ Brazil. Are you ready to put that Olympic stuff on them?
Yes, absolutely.
You ready to push them sleds with them?
Yes, I am.
They ain't ready for that, but you gonna make them ready, right?
Absolutely.
Glenn and Jocelyn Chisang. Are you ready to put that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu on them?
Oh yeah, live for it.
I wanna see some arms breaking, but I wanna see some pounds dropping. Are you willing to change lives?
Yes!
Are you willing to bind your souls with these contestants here to change their life for America?
Yes!
Good.
Battle of the Bulge, LA, allows you to come out and find the trainer that works for you.
You and we together collectively are the best of the best. But Battle of the Bulge LA is a special title because it starts in LA. We wanted to bring everybody from all walks of life to get them in shape in about 8 to 12 weeks. It's a process.
CJ and his crew will put your body through hell to get it looking like heaven.
So today they're gonna get battle ropes. Today they're gonna get kettlebell. Today they're gonna get ladder drills. Today they're gonna flip a bag. Today they're gonna push a sled. I've read hundreds of letters. And at the end of it all, I chose 20. With all 20 compelling stories. Stories that will definitely break your heart. There's one more step. Only 10 of you can stay in the program. That means 9 of you, after this obstacle course, will be eliminated.
We're the first voice they hear in the morning.
Unleash that line, you got it!
And the last voice they go to bed with.
CJ, please help me. I'm trying to be boom boom pow here. I decided that enough is enough.
Walk people through what enough feels like.
Enough is when I went from a size 7 to a size 14. Enough is when I can't even walk up the stairs without getting out of breath and having to use my spray. That's enough.
There was a time I was really concerned because I really didn't want to wake up in this world without my son being in it. But now I do. And it's really thanks to CJ and all the trainers and just everybody involved. You just don't know what people are going through sometimes. And you can't look at me and know that.
I am Eva Joseph, queen of the cool down, influencing about fitness and how important it is to put fitness as part of your daily activities so that we can reduce incidence of obesity and diabetes, high blood pressure, hypertension, heart disease, alarming rates. We teach them these fitness skills, and in turn they go back to their community and teach their families, and then teach their friends, and the word spreads.
I've got some of the best of the best. I need our obese population to fight, and fight is what we're gonna do with Battle of the Bulge Los Angeles.
The Voice was a great experience. In my auditioning for these shows, CJ was the one who encouraged me through it all. What happens internally, it shows up externally. I'm Jesse Campbell, and I am here to support Battle of the Bulge LA.
I'm not a quitter, and I'm in a battle with my bulge.
You better not quit. You better not quit. You lost it, you gained it, you're about to lose it again.
America, you need to see that. If he has no excuse, then you have no excuse. We're waiting on you.
You don't have to be a fighter to feel like one. This is Battle of the Bulge LA. Real life, real weight loss, real results. Let's train.
Yeah, I'm sick of COVID. I'm sick of the atmosphere right now. I'm ready to change the world again. I'm done with it. Click on the YouTube link, Cleon Joseph, subscribe, get in the Battle of the Bulge, give me your feedback as we bring this program back again. Hit me up on all social media, IG CJ Functional. Thank you, Urban Spinster. Go IG Urban Spinster, hook her up. She's been helping the brother out big time, tightening up his game. All right, so follow me social media. Let's change the world. Let's get back to changing the world. It's a new day now, for real. All right, let's do this. Mentorship moments, more guests. Next up, Diana Red. Big story. She's on Battle of the Bulge. She's our next guest in 2 weeks. God bless you. We are the village. Each one teach one. It's on. I'm here.